तो
हाँ
सर
हाँ हाँ.
सबसे पहली बात तो थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग एंड गिविंग
No,
योर
no, no.
टाइम।
I'm sorry, I've been getting delayed for various reasons. Actually, problem हो जाता है. I'm involved in so many activities, no,
सर
that something or other keeps coming up
आई वाज वेरी
all
क्यूरियस
this
टू
time.
टॉक टू यू बिकॉज आई हैव बीन फॉलोइंग योर
Sure.
पोस्ट। मैंने आपके जो एयरफोर्स वाले देखे हैं एंड एक्चुअली इट वाज माय ड्रीम टू बिकम पायलट। अनफॉर्चुनेटली नॉट एवरीबडी कैन गेट ऑन दैट सीट। वो
Yeah,
सबके
that's
लिए
okay.
पॉसिबल
I
नहीं
mean,
होता है।
the God has got a different calling for everybody. So if everybody becomes pilots, then who will do the rest of the stuff for which are necessary for pilots also to fly? So
एग्जैक्टली एंड मेरा जो पूरा बैच है कि हम लोग एयरफोर्स को से पढ़े हुए हैं, हम लोग चकेरिया में ही थे,
हाँ
तो
हाँ.
हमने बचपन से देखा हुआ है वो किरण वाले एयर शो होते थे। A32 में हम लोग
Correct,
बैठे हुए
correct.
हैं, एनसी ज्वाइन करे हुए हैं, तो हम पूरा पूरा बैच हमारा बहुत ही क्यूरियस था। फ्यू ऑफ देम वेंट
हाँ
इनटू
हाँ.
द इंडियन डिफेंस फोर्सेस, बाकी सब इंजीनियर बन गए
Wonderful.
हैं। बट ये जो हमारा वी आर ट्राइंग टू डू समथिंग फॉर पीपल हु हैव बीन इन डिफेंस वेटरन्स। तो इसीलिए जो
Okay,
नाम रखा है वो फॉरगॉटन वॉरियर्स रखा हुआ है बिकॉज माय ग्रैंडफादर इज
okay.
फ्रॉम इंडियन आर्मी एंड I can see him.
अच्छा.
He has participated in all the three wars, but nobody
Okay.
remember him. So whatever we are.
Yeah, yeah, you are right. In fact, there's a project on which I am working on. This is
Okay.
primarily to do with no, this is there's an actress who's been discussing this with me.
Hmm.
Primarily, the major part of this plan is that there are in all war heroes are always remembered.
Right.
Okay, but there
Right.
are so many people forget wars who have also done exceptional things during their service life.
Right.
Nobody remembers them, and they just retire in oblivion,
Right.
right?
Right.
So her plan is to talk of three, four non-war heroes
Hmm.
who have done exceptional things
Hmm.
in normal career,
Hmm.
and then transit on to giving details of so many people who have done so many things during service, after retirement, how they live, how they change over from military to civil transition, and things like that.
So my grandfather still car for that. कि वो मुझसे बोलते हैं कि whenever I am dead, just inform my battalion. They will come and they will
Yeah, yeah,
prepare the body.
always.
तो ये इंस्पिरेशन मेरे ग्रैंडफादर थे एंड देन वी थॉट कि बहुत सारे लोग को जरूरत भी पड़ती है। तो द
हाँ
प्लान
हाँ
इज
हाँ.
डाउन द लाइन इज कि वी विल ग्रो दिस चैनल एंड वट एवर अर्निंग वी विल हैव इन द फ्यूचर। अभी तो बहुत छोटा है हम लोग का, तो वी विल
Mhm.
कंट्रीब्यूट इट टू डिफेंस वेटरन्स और जो हम लोग भी करना चाहते हैं बिकॉज वी आर इन गुड पोजिशन राइट नाउ, वी आर अर्निंग डिसेंट। So we want to give something back to people, the heroes who have done a lot of things for us and we even don't know.
Yeah,
क्योंकि हम लोग तो अपने ऑफिस में बैठे रहते हैं, वी नेवर नो कि वहां पर क्या हो रहा है। अपार्ट फ्रॉम फ्यू गाइस हु आर फ्रॉम डिफेंस बैकग्राउंड, जैसे कि हम लोग को मालूम है कि डिफेंस में क्या होता है बिकॉज हमारा पूरा शुरुआत से स्कूलिंग वैसे ही हुई है। बट स्टिल जो आपकी नई जनरेशन है उन्हें मालूम भी नहीं है कि क्या होता है। दे आर
correct.
परफेक्टली फाइन। तो सर मैंने इसीलिए आई वाज अप्रोचिंग यू एंड आई वाज वेरी क्यूरियस बिकॉज मिड 21 इज काइंड ऑफ, इसको मैं बहुत दिन से फॉलो कर रहा हूँ and lot of things has been said for that, positive
Correct.
negative both। थोड़ा मैं रिसर्च कर रहा हूँ, मैंने अभी शिव अरुण जी की बुक भी थी वो भी पढ़ी मैंने बिकॉज और कोई बुक अवेलेबल नहीं है। आई एम सर्चिंग फॉर
Mhm.
मोर बुक्स पब्लिश्ड बाय पीपल ऑन मिग 21। तो आई एम डूइंग माय रिसर्च। तो एंड दिस इज नॉट अ वेरी formal kind of interview. I wanted to hear
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
you।
Please, you do it the way you want to. Yeah, I am open for anything.
तो सो सर मैं आपसे सुनना चाहता हूँ आपकी स्टोरी। जैसे मैंने लास्ट टाइम भी मैंने बहुत ही तरीके से करा कि मैं क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा था, बट आई फाइंड आउट
हाँ
वो
हाँ.
बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग हो नहीं पाता है बिकॉज आई एम पुटिंग समथिंग ऑन द डेस्क। तो सर थोड़ा आप बताइए, ऐसे आपने स्टार्ट किया, आपके टाइम पे आपने एंट्री कैसे दी, आपके इंस्पिरेशंस क्या थे, या फिर जैसे कि आपकी एनडीए में कोई अच्छे इंसिडेंट्स, अच्छे वाक्य हुए हों जो कि आप शेयर करना
Mhm.
चाहते हो। एंड फॉर द नेक्स्ट जनरेशन, जैसे मेरी दो बेटियां हैं, I wanted them to join Indian Air Force and Indian Defense, but I can't
Mhm.
force them. The only way to put it in front of them is through stories कि देखो ऐसे लोग भी हैं,
Yeah, yeah.
करा हुआ है। दिस इज वाई डिफेंस
Mhm.
इज सेपरेट। तो थोड़ा आप अगर शेयर करेंगे अपने एनडीए डेज, आपने क्यों ज्वाइन करा डिफेंस, उस टाइम
See,
पे क्या हुआ?
I'll see. One thing which I would like to always put as a disclaimer when I talk about my journey to
हम्म।
anybody, I do this quite often. Okay. I belong to a generation which grew up in the 70s and 80s,
ओके।
right? Forget about joining the forge. That generation had different mindset compared to what the mindset of today's generation is,
राइट।
right? So you can never draw कि उसमें ऐसे हुआ था और इसलिए लोगों ने ऐसे किया तो आज ये ऐसा करना चाहिए. It is not possible.
राइट।
Okay, because everything is different. For example, I'll give you a very simple thing. In my school, most of the students wanted to do either medicine or engineering because there's not much of options from science stream. and in the other stream, it was either arts or commerce. Today, it is not so. Today, even a class 10 student has got maybe 30, 35 subjects to choose from for the 11th and 12th. He can ignore maths, physics, biology, everything, and just select 5 or 6 completely different subjects in which he can make a wonderful career.
Right.
It was never there during our times. You had to take maths, physics, chemistry, or maths or chemistry, physics, biology, or commerce with maths, commerce with something else. Very limited choices, right?
Right.
So it was a completely different world. Okay. Now, yes, joining the Forge, I come from the state of Gujarat. Listen, I'm born in Mumbai, but I was brought up in Gujarat. Now, Gujarat has no legacy of Forge per se.
Okay.
You'll very rarely find Gujaratis in the Forge. There is no Gujarat battalion, Gujarat infantry.
Right.
It is not there.
Right.
It is one of the only states which does not have it. Correct?
Okay.
Because they are not a military bent of mind. They are businessmen. They run businesses and they are extremely good at that. It would be incorrect. It's the same example, like I said. You cannot compare. Asking Gujaratis en masse to join the Forge would be asking somebody to do something which they are not used to.
True.
Right?
True,
okay.
Sir.
It is like asking somebody to get into business when his entire life has been in the Forge. He says, yeah, what do you want me to do? Right? So it's like that. So I grew up in Gujarat, which did not have a military culture per se. Okay. But my father's father, my grandfather on my paternal side, was in the police. He had also fought the Second World War. Okay. And he had grown up to be a director general. He was director CBI. He was director of the National Police Academy. So as a child, I would go to all these places and see the uniform, see the life. So obviously that was an attraction. Okay. And my mother's father was a Supreme Court judge. So as a child, when I would go there, he would teach me verses of the Bhagavad Gita, tell me stories about his experiences and all that. So somewhere during my childhood, I got into this thing. I got into a mindset of thinking about my country all the time. History. Okay. Indian history per se. And I studied in a wonderful school. My parents put me in a school which was completely on Indian heritage and culture called Bharati Vidya Bhavan. Bharati Vidya Bhavan. Okay. It was made by Kanhaiya K. Munshi primarily as an institution which was in competition with the Christian missionary schools, which only taught English culture. Right. So we would start off the day in the assembly with a prayer in Sanskrit. There would always be a song on national integration of a different language. Each of the languages of the states, there used to be a song every day. We would always sing Vande Mataram. We would sing the national anthem at every assembly. Okay, there was a march past in a band. Every day somebody would come and speak news in Hindi, news in English, like that. Okay, I studied Sanskrit for 4 years. Okay. It was compulsory for all students from 5th to 8th. It was the foreign languages.
Yeah, for us also till 9th class, it was compulsory.
Yes, Kendriya Vidyalaya. Yeah, Kendriya Vidyalaya. No?
A4 school. A4 school.
Air Force School, basically a government-run institute.
Right.
Otherwise, nobody thought about it. Right?
Yes, true.
And my parents always encouraged me to take chances, to take adventures, to learn new things, to take on challenges. And then, luckily for me, Baroda has an Air Force station at Makarpura, which is close to our society, where we used to stay. Okay. And I used to see some aircraft flying once in a while. There's an airport, Harni, which is also an Air Force airport. Okay. So when I used to go down, I used to see those tropo antennas. In those days, I thought it was a radar. It was just a communication tower. Okay. But for me, it appeared like a radar. And then first time I saw a movie called Vijeta. Okay. Vijeta, and which is an iconic Air Force movie. Okay.
I have never seen it, but I have a lot about that.
I would tell every Air Force aspirant to see the Vijeta movie to understand what learning flying is all about. It has not changed. It is the same. Technology may change, aircraft may improve, but the techniques of learning flying will not change. It is still basics. And the challenges that you face, you must see it. Every individual. And if you want to motivate people, you should see it. There is an iconic dialogue by Amrish Puri.
गलत फहमी की गुंजाइश मत रखना. 99% से काम नहीं चलेगा. एयरफोर्स में जिंदगी और मौत के बीच का अंतर इसी 1% का होता है. 100% फिट हुए बिना इस ग्रुप में से कोई फाइटर पायलट नहीं बनेगा. ये एक सख्त प्रोफेशन है और इसकी डिमांड्स भी सख्त हैं. अभी सख्ती नहीं बरतूंगा तो तुम्हारे खून से रंगेंगे मेरे हाथ, और मैं नहीं चाहता कि मेरे हाथ तुम्हारे खून से रंगे. मत भूलो, फाइटर प्लेन्स पर करोड़ों रुपए खर्च करता है हमारा देश. तुम्हारी ट्रेनिंग पर भी करोड़ों खर्च होंगे, पर आजादी की कीमत नहीं आंकी जा सकती. यहां उन्हीं की जरूरत है जो सिर्फ जीतने में विश्वास रखते हैं.
Amrish Puri, when he is standing on the podium talking to the
pilot. Of a fighter pilot.
Yes.
That is what embodies the mindset of a fighter pilot. If somebody wants to become a fighter pilot, there is nothing different. It was there in 70s. It is there even today,
Okay.
in the 2020s,
Okay.
right? So that motivated me. And then I saw a lot of war movies, Akraman and all Hindi on Indian films and all. And 71 was fresh, no? It was just 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Right.
So that motivated me. And then, as my grandfather kept telling me about his experiences, the one who's in police, I studied a lot. School taught me a lot. The school had NCC, National Cadet Corps. I joined it and I did well. We had wonderful teachers who taught us Indian history, who taught us about India. Okay, one of my teachers whom I always remember is Mr. Mayur Desai. Okay, he would talk of greatness of India all the time. He would always say, why do we always look at the foreigners? Why can't we do things on our own? And that was the thing that got into my mind then, which I even keep saying today. That had we never asked others to come and help us to run our country, we would never have been slaves.
Right.
And that's why we were slaves. Even today, when somebody says, no, look there, see how England is doing, or I said, again, you're making the same mistake. And I hate that thought. Why should you ask somebody else to come and run your country or do something in your own country? You are your own country.
Right, sir.
Right. So over a period of time, these thoughts kept growing in me, and then it was fixed that I wanted to join the Forge. And obviously, Air Force flying was an added attraction. So somewhere in 9th, I was convinced I wanted to join the Forge, but I had no idea because there was no media, there was no social media, there was nothing. Newspapers would come, that's it, right? So I did well in NCC, and I was one of the youngest recommendations for the Governor's Medal in Gujarat. Okay, I was very young. I remember going for rifle shooting. I could not pick up a 303. I was that small.
303, we have also fired.
Right? But I could shoot properly.
Yes.
And then, and then after class 10th, I went for a military camp because I wanted to know whether I have it in me to become a soldier.
Okay.
So I went to a military school near Nashik and spent 6 weeks doing everything that a soldier does: riding, swimming, sailing, running, exercises, classes, everything. And I did very well. I was one of the youngest appointments in the entire thing. I was the youngest in the camp. Okay, of about 300 people. But I became an appointment, right? And that told me that I can do this, that this life is for me. Okay, after I came back with that confidence. And then I commanded the school parade. We used to have a parade on 26 January on the school annual day, a proper parade of a march past, proper type, okay? So that kept telling me, and then I started studying for the National Defense Academy. And luckily, I cleared the ND exam and joined in my first attempt at SSB. It was tough because I had gone to SSB Dehradun after I was just recovering from a bout of food poisoning. I just got food poisoning, and 4 days later, I went into SSB. But it was a lovely experience. Luckily, I cleared. There were 5 of us. In fact, just a few days back, I met one of them, and he showed me the photograph of the SSB mates who were there.
Sir, अभी मैंने कुछ दिनों पहले I also went to SSB. Sir, just a moment. I just turn this off.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, sir. कोई फोन वहाँ
Yeah, बोलो.
तो सर मैंने भी एक्चुअली SSB दिया था आर्मी का बैंगलोर में.
हाँ.
तो लेकिन वो मतलब मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता था कि उस टाइम के एसएसबी में और अभी में कुछ अंतर आए हैं कि वो एग्जैक्टली सेम है?
बहुत ज्यादा फर्क है. There is a massive difference. There has to be a massive difference. Okay. Yeah, primarily because the systems have changed, technology has changed. Okay, the selection criteria has changed. Earlier it was all manual. It was more tougher. Today it's easier. Okay. I think even today the SSB has now been compressed. Earlier it was full. We had to go on Sunday and you would leave only on a Friday night or Saturday morning.
तो सर आपके टाइम में आपने सर कहाँ पर दिया था एसएसबी आपका? मतलब आपका कहाँ?
मैंने क्लेमेंट टाउन, देहरादून, नंबर 1 AFSB क्लेमेंट टाउन.
Okay. मेरा बैंगलोर पड़ा था.
So things have changed. Yes, things have changed because there are a lot of students who talk to me about SSBs and they want me to give them guidance. And I keep telling them, I can share my experiences. I can't guide you.
Right.
Because see, I always say, people like 2 fingerprints are not similar. What worked for me may not work for you. And what will not work for me may work for you. So I can share my experience in minutest detail to tell you what I did and what helped me. Right? You have to speak to people, pick out small things from each one and see how it works you. If you try to copy what I did, maybe it doesn't work for you.
Right. Because
it is as simple. No, exactly. Like fingerprints, 2 human beings are not same. Okay, it is as simple as that. I may be good at long distance running, you may be good at sprinting, but because I got selected because I ran long distance, and as a sprinter you try to do that, you will not succeed. Your strength is your sprints, not the long distance. Exactly. I'm just giving you a basic example, but that is the golden rule. So people think that when they listen to somebody कि हाँ इससे मैं पूछ लूंगा और मैं SSB चले जाऊंगा, नहीं. The most important thing I always tell everybody is be your own self. Don't try to put on an act. You will be caught.
Okay.
Because they are all psychologists there. They're trained. They're seeing 50, 60 people every week. Yaar. They're there for 3 years. Imagine how many people they're seeing. Like, for example, when I was in training command as an instructor, flying instructor, after the first and second term, a guy would come, I would meet him for the first time, and I was very sure how he would perform.
Because you knew कि लोग
Yes.
कैसे behave करेंगे. You have seen
Because I have gone through that. I was seeing cadets on a daily basis.
Right.
Similarly, when candidates go, they see candidates on a daily basis. They see how they get down from the bus. They see how you interact when you sign the form. They see what luggage you carry. How do you carry your luggage? What clothes you wear? How you enter the gate? How do you keep your room? All that stuff. How do you interact with others? They just one look and you will know. So be your original self, because for 2 reasons. If you're not your original self, you may get caught and then they will not select you. One, right? Second, even if you get selected, when you join, you cannot continue that imposter image throughout your career.
Very true.
And then it will be a problem not only for yourself, but also for the service, because you will never be able to adjust and service will be forced to kick you out.
सर एक क्वेश्चन पूछूंगा आपसे. आपने भी डेफिनेटली PABT दिया होगा उस टाइम पे.
Yes.
PABT की स्टोरी सब लोग जानते हैं, तो
Correct.
आपसे सुनना चाहूंगा कि how was your experience in the PABT?
So my PABT was quite nice. Okay, matlab, see, what's it? It's a pilot aptitude battery test. What is an aptitude? What is the difference between an aptitude and a talent? Aptitude is your capability. Can you do this or no? What is talent? It is inborn in you. Have you understood? Best example, Kambli and Tendulkar. They both had the aptitude to play cricket. Kambli was more talented than Tendulkar.
Right.
But what made Tendulkar himself is his hard work, his ethics, and his perseverance.
Perseverance.
What
Right.
destroyed Kambli was the lack of all of them.
Right, sir.
So when you do a pilot aptitude battery test, the system is designed to check whether you have the aptitude to become a pilot. Now, how does the system check it? The system checks that an average individual with average ability and average capability should be able to perform in an average manner to produce average results.
Okay.
I will repeat. The test is so designed that an average individual with average capability and ability can perform in an average manner to produce average results.
Okay.
That is the average line. You should be above it. If you're above it, you could be just above, you could be 100, if the average is 50, you could be 50.0001, but you are qualified.
Okay.
If the average is 50 and you're 49.999 and you are not qualified,
And
it simply says you do not have the ability. Like, for example, when you play online games, some people are exceptional, some people are pathetic at that.
Right.
What does it mean? That individual who's pathetic doesn't have the ability to do it.
Yeah.
Now, why is that important? Important is because in flying, people lose lives.
Right. And you can't even train people who don't have the ability.
Even
right?
it is as simple. If you want to be a singer, but you don't have the sense of music, irrespective of how much I train you, will you be able to do well?
No. No.
It is as simple as that. Yes, I can get you to a certain standard, but that's it. That will be peak out for you.
You will not have
Yes.
the calling from inside. Right.
Once. And I can train you to be a singer. Keep practicing, you'll reach a peak and peak out there. That will not be sufficient to make you a good singer. Similarly, you can train for PABT, maybe you will succeed in the PABT, but one day you will suffer when you start flying.
Right. जब आपने अभी ये बोला one day, just एक दिन होता है. Every day is fine. That
one day, one moment.
One
right. Moment when you're on approach and there is a situation you don't react, that's it. When you're flying at low level, you're flying at 900 kilometers per hour. It is 250 meters per second. How much? 250 meters per second. And what is 250 meters? It is 2.5 football fields.
Right. Right.
2.5 football fields is the speed at which you're flying in a second.
Per second.
So if you don't have the aptitude, don't join. Don't cheat the system to get selected, because then you're effectively cheating your own life.
Right. Right.
That is very important. Have you understood? So yes, if the PABT clears you, good enough, you're good for flying. Doesn't mean you'll become a fighter pilot or a pilot, because Air Force has got certain restrictions. In the 9th or 10th sortie, they expect you to reach a standard to go solo. Like I said, average. You are, when you clear PABT, you are average, right? But the Air Force has got a standard which may be above that, because Air Force cannot reduce the standard.
Right.
So if the Air Force says 10 sortie has to be solo, if you can't do, they'll give you a couple of sorties, can't do, maybe 2 more, can't do, then they say thank you so much, because they can't keep spending money on your training.
Right.
Maybe 20 sorties will make you a pilot, but Air Force can't give 20 sorties. It is cost money, taxpayers' money.
Money, and then you are forcing it for somebody who don't have the willingness to actually do that. Right?
No, that individual may be desperate. I have grounded people in a fighter's con. He was selected for fighters, came to my scon. I've grounded them. I've sent one to transports, 2 examples, one to transports, one to helicopters, because the rate at which things were required to happen did not happen with them. But they went on. I had to convince them. They were very keen to fly fighters. But I said, it is not happening. I said, maybe I will force you, clear you from here. But one fine day, 5 years later, you may dig a hole and then I will regret. They went to helicopters and transports. The guy who went to helicopters went on to do so well that he went on to Sarang.
Okay.
Helicopter display team.
Right.
The guy who went to the transport flies C-130, the most advanced transport aircraft India today has.
Right. सर एक क्वेश्चन पूछूंगा आपसे, जैसे आपने बोला कि जब आपने ग्राउंड करा, तो would that mean कि जो एक थोड़ी सी कैपेबिलिटीज होती हैं, they are born with you, means the way you respond to the situation in front of you, the way you drive, the way you respond to situation in front of you, how attentive you are. So are these the compulsory things that need to be there in someone who is qualifying for the fighter pilot or who is qualifying the
see, like I said, the first criteria is the PABT, okay, which just says that you have the ability to fly. One, right? So the Air Force selects you if you are medically fit. Then we start training you for flying, but we've got a certain timeline. Okay, 10 sorties. I'm just taking exact. Today I don't know what it is. If it is 10 sorties, I need you to go solo to show me the capability that you can fly on your own. Okay, if you can't, I'll give a little time for improvement. Can't, one more little time, and then that's it. Okay. Maybe if I give you 25 sorties, you will still fly. But then what simply means is that every time where others, average guys taking 10, you'll require 25. 2 things. I have to spend time and effort on you. It costs money. And secondly, you're not progressing at the same rate that an average guy does. And you'll start lagging back. So in a class of 50, maybe 48 will pass out. 2 guys will take 2 years when these guys finish in 6 months. Is that acceptable?
No. At least in forces.
Air Force can't accept it. But if you go to civil flying, maybe the same guy who's grounded from the Air Force goes to civil flying. He spends money for every hour. Maybe after 25 hours, he goes solo. Because the requirements of military and civil flying are different. In military flying, you're required to fly alone all through your life. Right. In civil flying, you'll always have somebody with you. So maybe you will fly after that for 5 years as a co-pilot with a senior pilot before you become command. Okay. Where you are responsible. So you will gain all that experience. It is also a matter of time. It is not a matter of capability and ability alone. It's also the time.
सर मतलब कि ये तो मैं this is very well taken. मतलब I was talking to some of my professor in my college. तो हमने उनसे पूछा कि सर हम लोग we were building up drones. So he said I can't fly a drone because I don't have the required responses when I'm driving. So he said कि मैं जब गाड़ी तेज चलाता हूँ तो I can't respond, and that was his limitation.
Exactly. The rate at which things move. Similarly, like I said, the 2 guys whom I grounded from the fighter squadron, not because they couldn't fly. The fact that one has gone to a helicopter display team, one is flying a C-130 as command, means they had the capability to fly very well. But they were not able to match the rate at which the Air Force required them to perform to fly fighters.
Right. And
so this can happen. Maybe there is a rate at which you cannot perform just to fly itself, in which I have to ground you from flying, send you to any other branch. There are lots of people like that.
Sir, आपकी जब ट्रेनिंग हुई थी तो आपके इंस्ट्रक्टर्स ने आपको कौन से प्लेन पे ट्रेन किया था, एंड हाउ वर दे? बिकॉज़ दे वो जो उन्होंने फ्लाइंग करी होगी उस टाइम तो आई थिंक मिग इंट्रोड्यूस होना चालू हुए थे. आई थिंक 1971 or 1969 MiG got introduced in.
No. So I started flying much later in 91.
Okay.
MiGs came in 1960s. Yes, they were already in the Air Force for more than 25 years.
Okay. So
right. There were MiG-21s. There were MiG-21s even in the 65 war.
जो आपके इंस्ट्रक्टर्स थे वो ऑलरेडी पायलट्स थे MiG-21 के जिन्होंने आपको ट्रेन किया था?
Yes sir, yes sir. Primary उस टाइम पे तो primarily MiG-21s ही थे. There were few squads of MiG-29s, sorry
Okay.
MiG-23s, MiG-27s, and few two squads of MiG-29s. That's all. Very limited.
Nothing else. Jaguar, Mirage कुछ भी नहीं था.
Jaguars were there. Mirage was only two squads, so very limited people.
एंड सर
Okay.
MiG-21 का अपने आप में मतलब हम लोग जब हिंदी में वर्ड यूज करते हैं तो हवा बोलते हैं हम लोग, यूपी में हम लोग
हाँ.
मतलब कि हवा बोलते हैं, तो डेफिनेटली
हाँ.
MiG-21 का था.
सुनो दो सिंपल एग्जाम्पल, राइट? अगर आप आज रोड पे चले जाओगे, है ना, तो सबसे ज्यादा एक्सीडेंट कौन सी गाड़ी के होते हैं?
जो तेज चलती हैं गाड़ियां, या
विच मतलब कंपनी, कौन सी कंपनी?
मारुति,
अंदाजे से. वंडरफुल. व्हाई?
बिकॉज देयर आर सो मेनी ऑफ देम, वही मार्केट में हैं.
You have just answered the question yourselves.
ओके.
If 80% of the aircraft in the Indian Air Force were MiG-21s, तो 80% एक्सीडेंट्स MiG-21s में ही होंगे.
राइट.
अगर एयरफोर्स में सिर्फ 32 MiG-29s थे, 32 मिराजेस थे, और अगर 750 MiG-20s थे, तो तुम्हारा रेशो क्या हो गया? 1:25.
Right.
Have you understood? So if there was one MiG-21 one Mirage accident, there would be 25 MiG-21s. अगर साल में 10 ही एक्सीडेंट होते हैं, तो एक मिराज का एक्सीडेंट हर चौथे साल में होगा.
Right.
Have you understood?
Got
Okay.
it.
One. Second question. You have hired a new driver, brand new driver, okay, for your cars. You have a Mercedes S-Class and a Maruti 800. है ना? What गाड़ी would you ask him to drive first?
Maruti 800 definitely.
Why?
Because
Why?
because इसकी speed slow है, and that is less costly. Means for me as a normal
You
person.
just answered. You just gave me the second part of my answer. If you have a fresh pilot, right, who's into the Air Force, would you put him on a MiG-29, Mirage 2000, or a MiG-21? For two reasons: costly and availability. Like I said, there were just 30 MiG-21 and MiG-29 and Mirage 2000, but there were 700 plus MiG-21s. Even if there's an accident where he ejects, the MiG-21 is gone, the aircraft are still in plenty numbers. But 1 out of 30 is 2.5%.
Right.
Sorry, rather 3.5% of your fleet. Yes. That is the reason that the MiG-21 accidents used to take place. And yes, the third reason is tactical. The MiG-21s are never designed for the role that the Indian Air Force used it in.
Okay.
The MiG-21 is produced by Russia for quick takeoff, high speed climb to high altitude, interception, and then straight turning back. That's why the fuel problem. No fuel, very less fuel, right? It gets airborne within 45 seconds. There is no other aircraft that can take off from start to wheels up in 45 seconds. That's why it was designed.
Okay.
But India didn't have the money to buy other aircraft. So you used it for ground attack, low level, air defense, photo recce, leaflet dropping, whatever you wanted, bomb battle damage assessment, training.
Okay.
Because you didn't have that capability, right? So more varieties, flying for the role it was not designed in, and Americans never gave you anything.
Right.
Western side, they gave everything free to Pakistan.
Yeah,
so you had to make do with whatever you had.
Right. And it was MiG-21 from Russia, because Russia and West.
Yeah.
They were
always. And so you had to go somewhere. You had to go somewhere. You were not producing aircraft. Today you're producing the LCA very shortly, maybe another 10 years, you will not have to go to anybody in the world.
Right.
And you'll have the most modern fighter aircraft everywhere.
Right. And I think जितना मैंने पढ़ा हुआ है, the MiG-21 से MiG series जो है Russian planes हैं, they don't need that kind of maintainability on the field. Whereas जो आपके West वाले aircraft हैं, US के aircraft हैं, they are very sophisticated one. Whatever I have read on
for the conditions that India operates in, from the east to the west and to the north to the south, amazing adaptability of the Russian fleet.
Okay.
Unmatched. Okay. Other aircraft, yes, I don't know. I don't think they would have survived the test.
Okay.
Toughest machines that I have flown are the Russian fleet. I have flown Western fleet also. Unmatched. Unmatched.
आपका experience as a MiG-21 pilot. I literally am getting goosebumps because मैंने movies में ही देखा है, मैंने videos में ही देखा है कि कैसे